So they still got to find their Pope.
Do they keep voting every day? Or how does it work?
Until they get their 2/3 majority.
So people have to shift their decisions, or
They get locked in there. There's the black smoke.
Is that inside the Vatican Church?
Yeah, in what? The Sistine Chapel. There's a special room there.
Are they burning frankincense?
No, it's voting papers.
Voting papers.
And then there's a little oven that's been there now for centuries. And then after the votes, and they've been counted, they get chucked in that oven, and black chemicals for black smoke means no Pope. White smoke, white chemicals means...
Oh, that's how they communicate with the public.
We have a Pope, yeah. And then the Pope will go out onto the balcony and hey, hallelujah, brothers.
Wow,
Yeah.
Thank you for that intro. As CNN tells us, today is the 13th of March.
Yeah.
BBC, whatever it is there. And we are talking about, within Physical Divine at the moment, so far we have been having a conversation. And we're at the stage of our conversation now where you're going to answer a question.
If I can.
We always do so very, very, very overwhelmingly.
Okay, experiment.
Yeah, we always, it's very nice. And I'm always discussing gender within my theme, within Physical Divine. There's always what makes you a man? When do you become a woman? Why? When I did the beard as well, I was asking women why they are men.
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
And I was always very metaphoric about the whole manhood, womanhood thing. It's for me, it's never been a physical thing that I feel of myself. I always feel I want to gain my womanhood, because it can't just be my puberty, it can't just be blood, it can't just be birth, it can't just be, I don't want it to be, because I don't want to have children, remember, for some reason. We're not going to get into that today.
But remember now what we were saying about manhood.
Yes.
This article, which purports to explain the hostilities that exist between Israel and the Jews.
Yes.
This magazine is all about the end time prophecies.
Okay.
And
what is the name of the magazine? Can you show us?
The Good News.
The Good News.
The Good News. Very interesting. I get it every month, every 2 months.
I'd like to see the cover, please.
But
thank you. That looks good. The Arab Spring that wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing the pyramids. Every time I see the pyramids, I get excited.
Myself. But
yes,
this
what
guy,
you're saying.
Now he's talking about this hatred that exists, that started when Ishmael and Jacob. Ishmael was basically kicked out of the tribe, according to this interpretation, and Jacob got the inheritance.
Okay.
Now
let's just backtrack again about who Ishmael and Jacob are.
Remember the Bible story?
Yes.
And even the Arab story begins with Abraham.
Okay.
He was the main man.
All right.
His descendants, of which the two, Ishmael was his firstborn son. He was the firstborn. 13 years later, his actual wife gave birth to a son. And he was called Jacob. Then the trouble started, because now the mother's always involved in this thing. She was worried that her son, her firstborn, her only son, is going to lose the inheritance that will be due to him because of Ishmael, who was born from a slave woman, her slave, which she had given to Abraham because she couldn't have kids. It's weird, isn't it? But anyway, that's how they operated in
Very
those
nice.
days.
Yeah.
So anyway, she plots and schemes
Yes.
to get rid of Ishmael. She doesn't want him around. Now these guys say, oh no, he was a young man going on an adult, going on being an adult. So the question is, when, 4,000 years ago nearly, was a boy considered a man?
Yes.
When?
Yes.
So, I mean, we have laws which only allow you to be a man when you're 18 to drink.
Yes.
You may only vote, no, you only get the keys to the house, as they say, in our culture, when you're 21. You see, now you're really an adult.
Yeah.
So, but that's
Do you mind if I
Western.
close the door? I'm just afraid of.
Oh, all the sounds, yeah.
Yeah. Because I've sure it makes some difference.
It will, yeah.
I don't mind. I think the news. I kind of don't mind the news.
A little
A
background.
little background news.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But okay, now the point is, these guys,
Yeah.
these Christian sects, have now twisted the real story, all the facts. They omit a lot. The guys of those days became men when they got their puberty.
Yes.
As soon as they were able to make babies, and the same of course for the woman.
Yeah.
As soon as a woman was of childbearing age, she's a woman.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. So these oaks, I want to say that at the age of 13, also the other thing, Ishmael was circumcised with his father Abraham. That was the first practice of circumcision.
Okay. He
Arabs
came
do it,
across.
Jews do it.
He came across it at that point, that time, the first with his firstborn son.
Yeah,
He
with
invented
Ishmael.
the idea of circumcision.
No, God told him that
Okay.
that's what you got to do.
Okay.
That's to now show the other people that you belong to me. So you cut off.
That wow! I've never actually really known why. That I thought it was for health reasons, but I don't see why for health reasons, especially when it's done when you're an infant, because surely that's the worst time,
Look, it's a weird thing. I was circumcised when I was 8 or 10 days.
And then you
I
go
don't
to
know.
the hospital.
Yeah, no, you don't even know it as a boy, man.
You don't.
But anyway,
you don't remember.
But it's just crazy. No, how can you remember what happened to you?
No, but I just mean
At 8
So it
days.
comes from when Abraham was told by God
This is the mark
of.
of my mark of the covenant between you and me and all your descendants. They will cut the tips of their penises off, or the foreskin, as a sign to all the nations that you serve me.
Okay, so when was Abraham's first conversation with God?
When he was told to get out of Haran and go to a new land that God was going to show him.
And
But
in
then
Haran, what was going on there?
Haran was the crossroads from in the northern part of Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
Now falls more or less in Syria,
Okay.
today's Syria.
Yeah.
So it was an important crossroads. And there, of course, there was a temple where Abraham's father
Yeah.
was the chief priest.
And what was the
But
practice?
you see, no, the Bible doesn't tell you. Nobody
Oh.
wants to tell you
Okay.
what Terah did, Abraham's father.
Terah.
But he was in the service of the moon god.
Yeah, I was about to say it sounds like.
And they called the moon god, in their Semitic language,
Yes.
Sin.
Oh.
The moon god was Sin.
Okay.
His real name was Nanar,
Yeah.
which was his Sumerian name. And he was a real person, a real live person who lived in Ur, where Abraham initially came
But
from.
he was the moon god.
His symbol was the moon.
Okay.
So that's how it's associated with being a moon god. That's part of what they call in mythology. People don't understand that they are symbols depicting actual gods, as they call them. A symbol representing the attributes of the person that they're talking about. So the
Okay.
moon god was an actual person, but he's inferior to the god who was the father, who was supposed to be the son.
Okay.
So there you got the sun, the very big one, and the moon, the lesser one.
Okay.
Father and son.
Okay.
Okay, so you also see there a basis for Christianity. Coming back.
I'm still backtracking even. I'm still backtracking and I'm asking this is a definition of society today, the term God. We go to courts of law are based on swearing and vowing to God. Ne? And now for me, this interaction between Abraham and God, if you want to backtrack it to the first instance, how did God develop this relationship over us? Why did we feel that we need to be subservient? Like, why is it an automatic relationship? Like,
look, we're talking about a God who spoke to Abraham.
an invisible
No,
voice.
he wasn't.
Yeah.
Moses saw him face to face. Tells you so in the Bible many times.
And he looked like a person?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was God-like. He probably looked different to Moses, to Abraham at the time. But they were accepted as being the gods. Don't forget these.
The form they take, is it like is it
A
like
human form,
Is
yeah.
it a human form? But I always imagine it glowing, and I imagine it like,
Well, when they
hovering just above the earth, not quite,
Well, when they put their spacesuits on to go on a little trip.
So maybe they were in some kind of bouncy kind of.
Then that's when you'd see them in
Yeah.
those.
Then that
in
excites me a
yeah.
lot. That excites me a lot.
But I believe that is what we've been told. Moses, you see, is the oak who's confounded the whole story.
Okay.
He's given us very basic history. Remember, he doesn't tell you anything about his own father, Terah, except Terah must get some mention.
Yeah.
He mentions that they were in Ur,
Yeah.
and that Terah, with his family, had to move to the city of Haran. Now Ur is near the Persian Gulf,
Yeah.
which is now Kuwait.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to go north to nearly in Syria to the city of Haran. All their flocks, all their servants, everything. Don't forget, Abraham and these guys are rich. They were the rulers, part of the ruling classes. See, and anyway, so temple service beckons. A disaster was coming to Ur. A radioactive cloud. It was going to wipe out every living thing in Ur. And they knew it was coming because the atomic bomb had already been exploded in Sodom and Gomorrah, and the easterly winds were blowing it towards their city, so they had to duck. Anyway, to cut the longer story short, Moses omits all that previous history.
Okay.
And we, our generation and your generation, and it will be the generations after us, will now begin to have access to all those ancient writings that we're only now discovering. We're only now translating and interpreting. And it's fascinating.
It is.
Because believe me, ETs do exist. I don't care what anybody else says.
And I'm not quite sure which conversation either we were having or
We were
on
still
this
talking about
on this.
manhood, yeah.
Yes, we are. The thing is, you see, because it is such a big part of this conversation with God, I do want a distinct definition, a vivid definition of God,
No.
so that we know what we're talking about. I'm not going to make an assumption that we both understand the same thing or that it is understood as the same thing. So now.
Okay, then let's just start with the basics from the original history. All the scholars, archaeologists, historians, all accept as a fact that civilization started in Sumeria.
Okay.
Their datings, they not in agreement about.
Okay.
They can differ by a couple of thousand years, but okay, more or less, we put a date to it, 10,000 BC,
Okay.
after the flood. Because don't forget now, why mankind has been wiped out now. We'll accept that. So that we've got the
So
survivors.
how many times has this earth formed now?
No, the earth.
If you are saying, oh, not formed, I mean like civilizations on the earth, are you saying there was a time when civilization was wiped out?
Yeah.
And
Now, prior to the floods, look, mankind has been around for, in our, as we are called, Homo sapiens,
okay.
we've only been around about 35,000 years in the whole cycle of evolution. So we've been here like, for half a minute on a 12-hour clock.
Yeah.
If you relate it to the age of the earth, it's peanuts. We like an ant. If you go like that, nobody's going to miss you know about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. So Moses then has hidden that. Two astronauts came to this planet 450, 500,000 years ago, whatever it was, looking for gold. That story's more involved in that, but it was two brothers who were basically the first two extraterrestrials on this planet. There was no life as we know it. People, animals, evolving creatures, ape-like men, Neanderthals. That sort of creature was around. But the one was a scientist, the one was an organizer of things. The one liked experimenting, blah blah. Anyway,
The one was a scientist and one was an organizer.
Yeah.
So who liked to experiment?
The guy called Ea.
And he was the scientist or the organizer?
He was a scientist guy.
Okay. And what do you mean by organizer? What did he do?
He was a ruler in he didn't do things for himself, he organized people. He gave the orders, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so is he a leader of some kind, but you not call him an organizer? That's an interesting
because what happened is he came down after his brother.
Okay.
With them, they were now the rulers. Enki was the first ruler, and he was called Lord of the Waters. Then his brother came, Enki, and he was called Enlil, and he was called Lord of the Command. And under their command, they had the Igigi, whatever they pronounce it, the workforce from their home planet. So, but these guys were now getting pissed off about having to do all the hard work. They were sick and tired of it for thousands of years.
Digging
out gold. And then this scientist, the Enki guy, he'd been experimenting. They had a nurse with him, also from the planet, and between the two of them, they conducted genetic experiments on various animals. And eventually he clicked on the idea of taking the semen, the egg, from this woman that was with him, one of theirs, and fertilizing it with the sperm of one of these call them Neanderthals, and then implanting it in the womb of a female Neanderthal. And so they got the first hybrid, the male. And the male had to start doing the work. And eventually, there was a female as well, because they had 14 birth goddesses to speed up the process. You know, they were impregnating 7 a time with male fetuses or fertilized, and
Yeah.
others with female genes.
Okay.
So we get 7 each time.
Okay.
9 months later, that's
Okay.
when it started.
Okay.
Anyway, then there was a mutiny. These miners didn't want to take it anymore. Then they got the powers, the man and the woman. Enki thought, no, we must speed it up. Let's change a gene or two here and give the woman the ability to procreate with a man without interference from outside sources. And that was when man and woman received the knowledge of good and evil.
But
When
why
they
is
realized-
procreation linked to good and evil?
Because that's what the Bible says. It's not really what the Bible
Yeah.
says, because the Bible is written in a code.
Yeah.
It's like playing a mystery game. Sometimes you got to look for the hidden secrets
Yeah.
in a different way to solve the puzzle. And that's the Bible, you see. But we've been brainwashed
Yeah.
into the Bible or this silly theory, which is just as much mythology as what they say the old stories are.
Okay, let me ask one simple question at a time, because I think the mistake maybe I'm making is I'm trying to cover a lot of information in a short space of time, and then it doesn't quite get that punch which I'd like.
Yeah.
And I've been spoiled, because as only now the way that I'm bringing a camera, and we always have these long conversations which I feel like, ooh, now I've brought the camera, so let me not get ahead of myself. We can always do it
Focus
again.
on something again. What was it?
The question is, when did you become a man, and how, and when you were asking that question, when become a man, and what you pointed out to with the brothers, Jacob and Isaac, and that feud, and when we're talking about Israel and world religion today. My question is, how do you answer that when you compare it to the first man according to our known history? When we look at the Bible as a script of it being summarized for you formulaic in the formula in which we are given it at school and we are programmed.
But that is, you see, that's a major problem today, as far as I see.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge is only coming to light now with these discoveries of all these clay tablets with the texts, etc., thousands and thousands of it. So it's new knowledge that even the authors of articles like this one and the theologies of the earlier church up until now are still based on old nonsense. They don't understand that their interpretation of the words, of the names, their meanings, is entirely different to what they would have us believe. The serpent that had to speak, or who spoke to Eve and told her, no, you won't die. God is talking nonsense. The day you eat that fruit, you're going to know knowledge of good and evil like gods do. That's what the serpent said. But now do you think it was a snake sticking his head out the grass? No. The serpent was one of Enki's names. The scientist, the wisdom. Serpent is also connected with wisdom.
Yes.
The Egyptian science is a snake. Our DNA is symbols, as two entwined snakes. Emergency medical services, doctors, all their emblems are two white snakes. But the first snake was inky.
Was he in a snake-like form? Was he a reptilian?
No, he was a god. He was from another planet. He might have had reptilian sort of looks, yeah. And because look, I'm talking now 450, 500,000 years ago. So that I haven't a clue, except for a few pictures I've seen of what these people are supposed to look like.
Yes, I've seen pictures of feline-looking races, reptilian-looking
whatever
dolphins.
they connected with various species. So who knows, is it true or not? But I would think as we learn more and more, I mean, wow, what's the likelihood of this tiny speck in this entire universe, or in this galaxy, which is one of billions in the universe, of which the universe is one of billions of universals. Then you know what makes us so special.
So funny that you mentioned that. I remember the name of that ocean that I was saying Narayan sleeps in. It's called the Causal Ocean. The Causal Ocean.
I've heard that name.
Yeah.
You see now words. That word has specific meaning.
The thing that I wrote down yesterday, which I think we can maybe start this interview, is in the beginning there was the word.
Right.
Ne?
Yeah.
And then you were explaining to me how in the English Bible, that English has been translated from Greek.
Yeah.
And the word was the word logos.
That's right.
And the word logos actually means
Thought, an idea.
It means a thought, an idea. It's not a tangible thing.
No, it's an it.
The word is an it.
Yeah, it's neutral. It's a neuter word.
It's a neuter word. It's neutral.
Yeah.
So if in the beginning there was the word, ne? And if you summarize a very general understanding of how the word, especially in the New Testament that you've said, the word was God. If we want to just quickly summarize the word as God, and we start by looking at Genesis reference, in the beginning there was the word.
No. We mixed it up a little bit. John 1,
Yes.
verse 1
Yes.
is the first mention of in the beginning was the word.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
That is the first mention in John 1.
That's how John has interpreted Genesis 1:1, which states, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, or something like that. We can check it out.
Yes.
So as I say now, John is this guy now.
So John, is the book of John the first book of the New Testament?
No.
Okay.
In fact, his book was written also 60, 70 years after the death of Christ.
Okay.
So although he says he was an eyewitness, an old man's recollections, you know, you like to put a little twist here and add a little something there. But anyway, be that as it may.
So the first time we actually hear this statement of in the beginning there was the word is from John.
Yeah.
Okay.
But interestingly, Genesis 1 continues, and God said, and then the first thing he created was light.
Light.
God said, let there be light.
God said, let there be light.
So those were not one word, that was let there be light. God said 4 words. Those are the first 4 words according to the Bible that God said.
Yeah, let there be light.
John 1 says, in the beginning was the word.
But do you see the connotation whereby it's those words that create the light, and it's that voice, and it's the first sound. That's why I say directly that the word, which is sound, is the source of that creation, and the source we call God, don't we?
That's, you just hit it right on the head.
So when I say that statement that I like, that in the beginning there was the word, and I'm saying, it was later interpreted as the first word of Genesis, but John said it.
John said
it in the New Testament, that in the beginning there was the word. He was interpreting.
He said it because the main thrust of his whole argument to support his view of what it means to be a follower of Jesus,
Yes.
hung on the simple fact that
Yeah.
he said Jesus was the Word.
Yes.
Now, Jesus
Yes.
is a personal pronoun, and that doesn't exist as logos. Logos means everything, lots of things,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean Jesus or Christ.
Okay. So
No way.
there are two things that we're identifying now.
Yeah.
We're identifying that we agree that the source of the sound
Yeah.
is what we link as God. But then we are also saying that what John does in the New Testament is something brand new
Yeah.
by redirecting it to Jesus now. That thing which was actually everything. And
No, John
Yeah.
was actually reverting back to ancient beliefs of resurrecting God.
Oh,
God who
so he didn't come
dies.
up with it by himself.
No, it was an old ancient belief. He look, Moses had been around for a long time. The Jews knew that there were many gods being worshipped all over the world, in their world that is,
Yeah. Oh.
and they had their own special God. You see, and
Oh wow! So it's like a tribute. It's like when we say it's Mandela Day.
Yeah.
Oh, or may I say such a thing?
Of course you may.
Okay, and we make a big statue of Mandela up in Naval Hill,
And we worship him. Yeah.
and we go out me in pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, so God actually, because now God becomes more. I don't want to say less majestic. It's almost like more sentimental and personal. It's not that now. It's now when it's outside of the rules of how to worship now this God. When it's outside of that and you kind of personalize it, it's a very cute way of like, oh, we like this guy, or not, you know.
Yeah,
Later we say, well, we can only like this guy, and then it's a problem or what?
No, but when it becomes a fanatical religion,
Yeah.
where you are told that the only way you can receive life eternal is by believing that Jesus is God who came to earth in the form of a man with a soul idea which he'd figured out in the beginning, that he was going to have himself killed at the age of 33 in a city called Jerusalem on a planet called Earth, and then he's going to stand up. Oh, yeah, and then he's going to have himself killed. So in other words, he commits suicide. But don't worry, because in 3 days I'll get up again. I'll show my face around a few people, and I'll hop in my little spacecraft and I'll go back into heaven. I don't know, that sounds a little corny to me.
But this story is what's believed.
Of course, I know. Millions of people believe that. Millions. But then millions of people believe Muhammad is the Messiah.
Let's link those two brothers again via
Well, that's where it comes in. Yeah.
Muhammad and
Ishmael.
and Ishmael.
Yeah.
The Christianity versus the Islamic.
The Islamic.
That the two founding fathers of those two strong faiths
Yeah.
were brothers,
Yeah. Half brothers.
half brothers.
Yeah.
Their father was Abraham,
Yeah.
who spoke to God, and at this point it could.
He was given a commission by God to leave the city of Haran. Look, nobody asks, nobody thinks, but why was Abraham chosen
Yeah.
as an emissary for his God, for the God of that? See, the God wasn't the actual God of that city yet. Yahweh, that we call him, or that he's been called. Don't forget, Abraham's father was in the service of Nana, moon god, Sin. This other god was the uncle of that ruling god, Enlil, who we now know as Marduk. He told Abram to get the hell out of there and go down to protect some territory that he wanted to conquer. And that's why Abraham, he was 75. Then his first son was only born when he was, what, 90? No. The last son was born in when he was 99.
99 years old.
He was 99 or 100. And the firstborn, Ishmael, was born in 1986. 13 years earlier. So yeah, but Ishmael wasn't kicked out. Ishmael was a man already. He was still living in comfort at home when, for 3 years after him and his father were circumcised together. And all the men in his tribe, by the way, at the same time, on the same day. And that's when the 8-day-old story came in. Because he said, now after this, now that you all been circumcised, your baby boy's 8 days old, that's the command. So, but anyway, now...
Must we just leave that as a symbol, that circumcision thing? Like,
and it's a spiritual, there's spiritual meaning as well.
I couldn't possibly, is it a secret among men?
No, I don't think many men understand that side of that ritual, the meaning behind it. I mean, the first one, let's call it decorative.
Decorative, okay.
So,
Okay.
so you can let it all hang out when you walk on the beach.
Oh, okay.
But then you're going to look funny to all the guys who aren't circumcised. So that's why you circumcise the whole bloody lot. So you all look the same.
Okay.
So we all know we're all brothers around here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Something like that.
Okay,
you know.
but that's the decorative part only, though.
Yeah.
And the spiritual side of it?
It's because of promises. The promise that was made along with that circumcision. That Abraham and his descendants. Now, Abraham had 2 sons. So and his descendants will become great nations. They will fill the earth.
So you have to be able to recognize them via the circumcision.
Well, I suppose more than half of the world's population, somewhere along the line, has got a little bit of that blood in them.
But people are circumcising for different reasons.
Well, yeah, I know that.
From different tribes, I'm sure. But I think that means we are all from one tribe. If all the different races are circumcising. In fact, I don't know many
no, but now they want to ban the practice.
Who? Why?
Doctors in Europe, I think, and in America want to stop that practice of saying the parents are mutilating their boys at the age of 8 days when the little thing hasn't got a say in the matter of what he wants his penis to look like one day. So now they want to pass a law. You're not allowed to have your kids circumcised. But on the other hand, the medical opinion who say having a circumcised dick helps prevent the passing on or catching of AIDS. No, who's right, say?
I am just surprised. I mean, it's very interesting. It's very interesting that.
Yeah, but we see we live in a crazy, mixed up world. It is crazy. But anyway, Ishmael himself received a Musa portion of the inheritance. And if you know a little bit about the laws of inheritance in those days, then all that was happening is they were following the law. Ishmael would have been well aware of it, which is the firstborn son of the legal wife, no matter when he was born, no matter how long after any other son the father might have had, with another woman, the firstborn would inherit the major portion. What that basically means, he just gets twice as much as the second brother. It's simple. That was the culture at the time. But anyhow, Ishmael didn't leave empty-handed. He had exactly the same promises as Jacob got. Be the father of many children, 12. He had 12 sons. Jacob was going to have 12 sons. All his sons would become the fathers of great nations, tribal kingdoms. They would be chiefs, they would be kings. It's all exactly what it is. That's the history that we have. And we've got it around us to prove it's true. So why would Ishmael have hated his brother? Ishmael knew the story beforehand, that this is how it works, this is what's going to happen. In fact, I think it was in his nature to want that. I think he's now a lady of 16 already. He would want to get out there and start his own tribes, take his own woman, get away from the old man, get away from this little pipsqueak. This was a big land, man. I go make my own destiny. And that's basically what happened. And Esau, other oak, remember him? He was robbed of his birthright a little bit later after that.
Okay.
By trickery. His brother, Isaac, robbed him by fooling his old tippy. He was a smooth skin. This is not Isaac.
Yeah.
Esau was a hairy guy.
Yeah.
Esau liked to go out and hunt and bring back fresh meat for his dad.
Yeah.
They'd have a lekker stew that the old lady would prepare.
Yeah.
Rachel, that is.
Yeah.
But Rachel now realized that Esau is the favorite, well, not really the favorite, but had to inherit because he was the firstborn, because they were almost twins. Esau came out first, so he was the firstborn. Isaac came out second. Esau was red and hairy, and Isaac was white.
And smooth.
And smooth.
Yeah.
Like a baby's mum. Anyway, so Rachel, the mother, preferred, of course, her son Isaac because he was more mommy's boy. He liked to be around her.
Okay.
And Esau liked to be out hunting. So the old man, Jacob, now says, no, well, he's dying soon. He must bless his sons, give them the inheritance now.
Ah, yes.
And he says to Esau, before I go, bring me my favorite so that we may eat together and I can give you my blessing. And off Esau goes to hunt. Rachel overhears this conversation. She calls old Isaac. She says, hey man, got a problem here. You're going to lose the inheritance that I've planned for you. I'm going to use some trickery. I'll make the food, bring me 2 kids, 2 goats. I'll prepare the stew. You cover yourself, all your smooth parts with this goat's hair, even his neck, and then you serve your dad with this stew. And you'll receive his blessing. Because obviously the old man's already blind.
Okay.
Must be, yeah.
Yeah.
So, little conversation starts. And then Jacob says, but who are you? Says, you're not Esau? Says, no, I am. Lies. Anyway, he serves his dad. His dad smells. Now this smells like Esau.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then afterwards, called him nearer And again, he felt him. He said to himself, "Well, it feels like Esau." He says, "But you don't sound like Esau." So I mean, he wasn't totally stupid. But anyway, he gave him his blessing.
Yeah, which was
Which
the
is
property.
now, which was, yeah, he's
The land.
double the land, his flocks, everything.
But why does that stick? Is a blessing like a computer today?
No. Well, I mean,
Like-
in those days, you're a man of your word.
Yeah, but if you are tricked, surely, you know,
Uh-huh.
your word was intended for something like that. It can be argued.
But you see, don't forget their belief as well in their gods, their God.
But if your God can allow a blind man to be fooled, like, why is this your God?
Well, that's a sort of question I'm trying to get to the bottom of, the answer to that. Why do some people believe all of that in that sort of a sense? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
No. So
Yeah,
anyway,
why is it that some of these things, they're valid and you kind of think, but why is it valid? Because it's not valid in my life.
No.
You know, then why should I follow a practice that wouldn't be valid in my life?
No, but you see, where we've got to now. Okay, well, no, I mean, it's only as Christians worldwide, how many, what's the percentage would you say of any other religion? I don't even know. 20% maybe. Of all the religions in the world.
Christianity is at 20% of all the religions in the
I
world.
suppose we can look it up. I would estimate that because there's Buddhism, Hinduism, all the other brands of Christianity.
Surely there's hopefully a large enough atheist kind of sect growing. Or is it still too small?
There is, but then to me again, that's just ignoring, ignoring
The-
what the true reality
is.
is. They don't want to accept that there can be a creator.
Ah,
You know, it all happened by time and chance.
yeah.
No, in the beginning was the Word,
Yes.
and the Word was God.
Yes.
Yes, the Word was not Jesus. The Word
Was God.
The plan was God's. The thought was God's. When He said the word, He executed the command.
Yeah.
This is it, boys. Here we go. The best reality show you've ever participated in.
Yeah, no.
But
And it
yeah.
takes us a long time to.
But you see, then science, the new science. You know
What is
that
this
the
pseudoscience? When something's written pseudoscience, what does that mean?
No, pseudoscience is not based on real fact. Empirical,
What is empirical?
tangible, you can prove it. I
Oh.
can do an experiment and show you the results. And that's called empirical.
Okay.
So, but pseudoscience, yeah, but it's